In less than a week, the Scotiabank Concacaf Champions League returns. So welcome in to the Scotiabank Concacaf Champions League show, where we'll talk about the competition and all the games to come. My name is Chris Whittingham. I'm in for Tyler Terrens, and for the long term as well. He's gone.
Yeah.
He's off to greener pastures. He's going to be the new part of the new broadcast team for Chicago Fire of MLS. Hopefully we'll see them in Concacaf Champions League before long. But Tyler, I believe he'll join us on Monday for his proper send-off, but no longer the host of the show, so I'll be taking over.
Yeah, if we let him back. I mean, here's how I look at it, right? We had a really good player in Tyler Terrens, but now I got a DP in Chris Whittingham. You know, the little MLS
You're saying
innuendo.
Tyler's more TAM? Tyler's more TAM?
He's more
All
TAM.
right,
you know, I'm general allocation, but you're the DP. Great guy. You know, we're honored to have him here. So.
Yeah, so my name is Chris Whittingham, here with Devin Kerr, and we're going to take you through all there is to go through with the CONCACAF Champions League. Starting first, we have to look at the bracket because the quarterfinals return next week. On the left side of the bracket, you have LAFC and Cruz Azul, the hottest team in Mexico at the moment. Then you have Club America against Atlanta United. We'll be without Joseph Martinez. We'll get to that plenty in this show. On the right side of the bracket, Tigres taking on NYCFC with the first leg coming this week on Wednesday night. And then Montreal Impact and Olimpia de Honduras. And so you have all of these four ties heading into this quarterfinal. We'll start first with NYCFC and Tigres. And it's one of those where Tigres, not so great in the league, but they have so much pedigree, so many top players that NYCFC will have their hands full.
We all kind of joked coming into the tournament, like after they stumbled out of the gates, don't play Gignac anymore, remember? Like, last year they didn't play until the final, and of course we know how that ended up, but guys been bagging goals left and right. That's a good thing. We'll go a little bit further on the show and show you what they did over the weekend, but you know, for me it's still, I think, Tigres and Club America. I think Club America has been better. We've talked about that off air. I'm still waiting for Tigres to kind of take that next step, though.
For sure, and they're definitely taking this competition more seriously than in years previous. That game is Wednesday, 8 p.m. on the networks of Fox and TUDN. As you also have a look on Tuesday, the competition will kick off in earnest as you have Montreal Impact playing host to Olympia at the Olympic Stadium. And Olympia, a bit of a difficult situation for them. They have a league match on Sunday night and then have to travel to Canada for the first leg of this tie.
Literally, when the final whistle blows, 48 hours until they take the field again. You wonder domestically if they're going to handle that. Montreal Impact getting better every single time out there. A scary team right now.
Yeah, and you look at their opening match against New England, still employing that 3-4-3 system and doing well with it as well. So Montreal will probably have the best matchup of any side in the CONCACAF Champions League, but they have to take advantage, and they'll start with that first leg against Olympia. Then LAFC and Cruz Azul. Best team in MLS against right now the informed team in Mexico. Could be really interesting. First leg at Bank of California on Thursday night from 10:30 Eastern.
Favorite matchup right now of the quarterfinals. And I think everybody was quick to dismiss them, LAFC, in the last leg going, they fell flat on their faces in Leon. How do you like me now is kind of that phrase where they got back to basics. Bob Bradley said he felt like they did a lot of good things in the first leg. Whether you agree with that or not, they came back, they get 3 goals, they move on. They also win their opening game in MLS domestically, so that's nice. It's just momentum that you keep building. They're going to need it versus Cruz Azul.
Yeah, they scored 3. It could have been 10 in that match. They were absolutely sensational. And for LAFC, another difficult matchup as well. Playing Leon in the first round, now Cruz Azul, who looked to be the weakest Mexican side, now look to be among the strongest. And then we close with America against Atlanta United. They're the only Mexican side that are hosting the first leg. That is Wednesday from 10:30 Eastern time. America looked like they have the upper hand, although they haven't been strong from a scoring point of view. They've been racking up the points, but Atlanta now without Joseph Martinez, that's a difficult one.
America, quality possession, haven't necessarily created a boatload of chances. You've seen them a lot in person, and you were kind of talking me through it and still wondering what the midfield looks like. I was asking, you said a lot of injuries, personnel in and out, but obviously the Joseph Martinez injury is going to be the main highlight right now, right? Atlanta United, Joseph Martinez goes out. Who is the guy going to be? What is this going to look like going forward? I think the easy answer, Chris, is Adam John because he's right there in the pecking order and they've used him before, but you got to look at what they're losing.
Yeah, and it's 77 goals from 84 league games. Tore his ACL in Atlanta's 2-1 win over Nashville SC on opening day. And, I mean, already in this competition with 2 goals and 2 assists, this is their player. This is the franchise player. Now that Miguel Almiron has moved to Newcastle, Joseph Martinez is the franchise, and now it's up to 2 $15 million Argentinian players, Pity Martinez, Ezequiel Barco, to pick up the load.
And for me, it goes even further than that because when you think about the transition that they made when Frank de Boer came in last year, after the departure of Tata Martino, there were some growing pains, and they were very well known, whether it was talks in the locker room, you saw it on the field of play. They transitioned into basically that lone number 9 up top. It wasn't as many stacked 2. They dropped boys down underneath them, Barco and PT. And so what does that look like going forward? I can promise you this. PT Martinez is not going to be a 9. They're not going to play. He's not going to play in a false nine either. This is going to be, right now, has to be plug and play. You got to find a way to stop the bleeding. So throw Adam John in there. They signed J.J. Williams. You know, it didn't work out under Caleb Porter and the Columbus Crew. J.J. Williams has got a lot of talent. Kid lit it up in the NCAAs. Kind of got lost in translation. When he played for Birmingham Legion last year at the USL level, he did just fine. They're going to bring someone else in. They talked about Carlos Baca from Villarreal. He's kind of fallen out of favor. They need to get someone. You just wonder how deep into their pockets they're willing to go.
And how much money they even have under the salary cap of Major League Soccer. The one thing, though, you mentioned not playing Pity Martinez as a false nine. If you are trying to get the best 11 players on the field, you probably would, because Adam John, J.J. Williams, unless they bring in a proper center forward, the best 11 would not necessarily feature one of those two guys. But you've seen a lot of Adam John in Phoenix when he was playing in the USL Championship. What can he bring? And ultimately, what is the dynamic he's going to need to have with these players in order for Atlanta to succeed against America?
It's a very good question, and it's a two-headed monster, right? So the first part is, when you lose Joseph, you lose the explosibility, right?
Yeah.
That quick transition out of the back going forward. Adam John changes the game for you. How? He allows you to have that hold-up play, that possession style that, to be honest, Frank de Boer likes to incorporate in anyway, and that's part of the system.
Presumably why they brought him in.
Exactly. That's exactly why they brought him in, and they didn't necessarily do that. They reverted kind of to that quick firepower, moving up the back, let's go down the field as fast as possible. When you bring Adam John in, it changes the entire game. The only disagreement that I have with what Chris brought up is yeah, you could drop him into a false nine. I'm not changing the whole system because Joseph is out.
Yeah.
Not yet. Not yet right now. What I'm doing is exactly what I said. You want to bring in Adam John. You want to bring in J.J. Williams. If it is Baca, they even have Olivier Giroud on lists out there. I'm like, first of all, let's back up.
He's starting for Chelsea.
Exactly. Like, that's not going to happen. But that being said, you have to change one player. You do not want to change an entire system, especially because everything that they went through last year to get through the season, to win the Open Cup, to put them in this tournament, was all about getting back to basics and what they were best at. You can't throw in the towel now and change it all.
Right, and Joseph is such a key figure in this team. You wonder how they replace him. Daniel Sturridge, another name link, but he's not going to help you win Champions League. So be curious how they handle that first leg. Now, in terms of this competition in the quarterfinal, which is the pick of the matchups in your opinion? Which is the best quarterfinal tie?
Well, I'm still staying with the LAFC Cruz Azul, but, anybody can have their own opinion on that one.
And we'll take a look at some of these Liga MX clubs coming up as we'll look at their league form, who they have coming up this weekend. This is the Scotiabank Concacaf Champions League show.
Volley going for goal! Rossi, oh my goodness! Bardak sends it in. Hit it on and it's in!
I went from maybe I can to I know I will. From isn't she cute to fight. Coaches who seem stuck on we can now say we did. From women's football to every 90 minutes, I'm reminded we belong.
The quarterfinals of the Scotiabank Concacaf Champions League return next week, Tuesday night, Montreal Impact and Olympia. You can watch it in the United States on the networks of Fox and TUDN. But right now we want to focus on the Mexican side still remaining in the competition. 3 of the 8 teams in the competition from Liga MX. And let's go ahead and start with Cruz Azul, who right now are the hottest team in Liga MX. They've won 16 of the last available 18 points. Jonathan Rodriguez is leading them in goals. He's joint top of the league with 7.
Quality. Again, the Portmore was a little bit of a scare in leg 1. They got it together in leg 2. I mean, everybody knew that Portmore wasn't going into Estadio Azteca and getting a win. Here's my question about them, though, and I'm actually going to combine it with what went on in the León LAFC matchup. Is it overrated? And the reason I ask that to you, Chris, is because when I look at what they've done, quality play, especially domestically, we've seen some really nice play out of them. But when I look at their competition, they're not exactly lighting up the table. You know, their best win right now would arguably be Santos, who's rated 6th.
Yeah.
Same thing for León. Everybody was so quick about these are the 2 teams. Look at how good they're playing.
Yeah.
León was in a similar situation. Their best win was against Querétaro. At that point in time, was in 6th, now 7th. So is it maybe, okay, yeah, this team is hot, but to be fair, shouldn't they be performing like this based upon the competition?
Well, the León thing is a little bit different because they were just wiping teams away at home, and I think we saw that in the Champions League tie with LAFC, and then away from them, they've been a disaster. And we saw it at Bank of California. They could have lost 6-7-0. I think with Cruz Azul, they're going away from home and playing the same way. I had their match for TUDN last Friday night when they played Monarcas Morelia, and for 60 minutes, we're up 3-0, wiped them off the field. They let them back into the game, and there are some vulnerabilities there. But to me, it's the intensity. They close sides down. They have that quality of play, and they have a goal scorer in Rodriguez right now that is just on top form. Now, the difference between León and Cruz Azul for me, León is they've been fantastic for multiple tournaments now. Cruz Azul, this is form. This is 6 or 7 games. You don't know if it'll last.
Yeah. Funny because coming in, everybody kind of smirked because of the way they had been domestically. They were the number 1 Liga MX team coming in.
Yeah.
And the way that the pots worked out. So I actually picked them as my dark horse because I think people were quick to jump on Club America, quick to jump on León. For me, I'm a little concerned on the defensive side of the ball. They kind of leak goals left and right. You know, domestically, I think it's 5 out of 8 games, 2 or more goals, and 6 out of 10 in all competitions. That's a problem for me.
Right.
That's
Especially
a problem.
You go 1-0 down to Portmore United. That was not expected.
No,
whatsoever.
and they didn't look that great. Now, to be fair, to your point, they've scored goals, and they've worked their way back into matches. So I think that's a positive talking point for them, especially coming into this matchup with LAFC. It's LAFC.
And
you know?
They've entirely flipped the narrative on their season. It was a disaster from the start. They're losing home games. They don't have fans in the crowd. And there's so many calls for Robert Dante Siboldi, their manager, to go. And now they've completely turned around their season. We'll see how they figure against LAFC. Moving on now to Tigres. In their most recent match in the league, beating Pumas, one of the top sides in the division, by 3-0. And there's really only one player to talk about, Andre Pierre Gignac, with a hat-trick in that game. Go and find his 3rd goal in that game if you can. He is absolutely the player that NYCFC will have to keep their eyes on.
And there's a reason he was made Team of the Week for Concacaf Champions League, and that's why. You know, the quick little touch in the corner. You know, from the spot again, I did have concerns over the weekend. You know, there's the red card.
Yeah.
45th minute, I believe. They scored all 3 goals in about a 15-minute span in the second half.
Yep.
So the team goes down to 10 men. 2 of those goals, by the way, were from the spot as well. Good news, you're still scoring.
Yes.
What's up with Quinones? What's his status there?
Yeah, I mean...
Stuck behind Aquino?
Yeah, they're throwing him in wide areas, and I think they're really just trying to find a balance in the side. I think they've struggled to either go out and attack or at times defend. I think the Gignac factor is the one and only thing that you're concerned about. And if you're NYCFC, you go into the matchup thinking, this is the guy we have to mark out of the game, because otherwise Tigres is pretty easy to stop from a defensive point of view. It's just about not letting that one guy break you and end the tie in the first leg.
Kind of interesting how you have similar things between Club America and Tigres, and the fact that both can maintain possession, both can create chances. The difference is Club America probably better on the defensive side of the ball, Tigres finishing in the final third. So it kind of gives you a yin and yang, if you will. You said something to me coming on to air that I want to bring up, and it was talking about the NYCFC boys.
Yeah,
that was interesting.
Yeah.
Share that with the
so
crew.
some of the NYCFC defenders, I couldn't pick out which one. There's a clip that's making the rounds in Mexico that they were put to them, Andre Pierre Gignac, what do you think? And they're like, we don't know anything about Gignac. What are you talking about? And I don't know if that's...
You buy that?
I don't know, that seems like mind games to me. I mean, if you're even thinking a little bit ahead, and understand that NYCFC have a league match this weekend, but if you're even looking a little bit ahead to this Champions League, you know the number 10 is the guy you're stopping. He's the only guy you're concerned about.
I will say this, as meticulous as that organization is, Citigroup, Manchester City, NYCFC is emulating them. They do it with Pep Guardiola over there. Next one up, next one up. He doesn't. Now, he's much more knowledgeable in that situation. He'll look down the line. He has that capability, and he has the people behind him to do it. Speaking with a couple people behind the scenes with NYCFC, when I was trying to talk to them about this upcoming fixture, no, we have 2 games between now and then. Weren't willing to discuss it. I still think an educated player would know what's coming at them. But you kind of get a peek behind the curtain when someone responds in that manner that, okay, no, we're only focusing on A before we get to B and C.
Yeah, and we'll talk about NYCFC coming up their way to Toronto tomorrow in Major League Soccer. Then we have to close with Club America. 3-0 losers in their most recent league match. Losing at home to Necaxa. Bruno Valdez was sent off after 16 minutes. Sebastian Cáceres sent off after 55. 5 total red cards in their last 11 league matches, if you include Liguilla. They seem to have a discipline problem, Devin.
I would like to be recruited by this team when I was playing. No, yeah, discipline an issue for sure. For me, it's more emotional. I don't necessarily, when you watch them, they're not flying around throwing tackles left and right. They're talking their way into these things, and even when they're being warned, it's pushing the envelope again and again, and that's where it's got to start from Herrera on the sideline, right?
Right.
You calm everybody down, and that's his thing. Like, he gets everybody going, and for Cáceres and Bruno Valdez, those are guys that are very important to this team. Fortunately for them, they don't carry over into this competition, so that doesn't matter. Remember that. I still think it's a team that I'm not worried about them because of what I've seen, and again, just start finishing a bit better in the final third. Because otherwise, I mean, they've been nice on the ball. They've created opportunities. But again, going back to their open comunicaciones, they got lucky. I'm sorry.
They did.
They got lucky. They could have been knocked out.
They went to penalties. That's a coin flip.
Could have been knocked out of the tournament. So they should feel lucky to be here and don't take anybody for granted. Start sticking the ball in the back of the net.
Especially with an Atlanta United side without Joseph Martinez, maybe underestimate, but they still have 2 $15 million players that can break open a tie. So America, who have only lost home matches this year, only lost league matches, period, when they've had a player sent off. So that'll be their primary concern, is exit the game with 11 players. Now, in terms of this Liga MX, you have 3 teams in action this weekend. Cruz Azul home with Tijuana. That is tomorrow night. Then you have Tigres, who are away to Puebla tonight. That's a 10 o'clock kickoff. And Club America and the Clásico Capitalano. It will be Capitalino, Club America playing host to Pumas, away at Pumas. So those are the league fixtures for these 3 sides. Coming up, we'll take a look at the MLS teams in the competition. There are 4 of them. You have NYCFC, you have Atlanta, LAFC, Montreal. We'll take a look at how they're getting on in Major League Soccer. That's coming up on the Scotiabank Concacaf Champions League show.
Back to Pineda! On the volley, going for goal! We'll see. Rossi, oh my goodness! Bardak sends it in. Hit it on and it's in!
I went from maybe I can to I know I will. From isn't she cute to fight. Coaches who seem stuck on we can now say we did. From women's football to every 90 minutes, I'm reminded we belong.
We just talked about the Liga MX sides here on the Scotiabank Concacaf Champions League show. MLS still with 4 sides remaining in the competition, and they get started on Tuesday night. We'll get to Montreal, but they kick things off against Olimpia on Tuesday night on the networks of Fox Sports and TUDN. But we begin with New York City FC. We're just talking about an America side that struggled with discipline. Well, NYCFC had a similar issue. Maxime Chanot sent off after just 3 minutes in their last league match, their first league match against Columbus Crew, a game which they lost by a goal to nil. Is there anything to take away from that for you, Devin?
Yes, 1-0. Zellaran in the 56th minute, so they fought hard. That's a very difficult thing to do, down to 10 men. I'm also wondering, what are we going to see? And the reason I say that is, first leg, they destroy San Carlos. Defensively, they had pockets. That's why the 5-3 scoreline. They come home in the second leg, dominated them. They win 1-0, created a massive amount of opportunities. Couldn't close as well, and you get your goal out of Callens on the back line, who makes the team of the week, and that's great. And then you come out in the third game that we're seeing this year, first domestic game, you get the red card early on. 3 very different looks from in a squad that's really trying to create an identity under Ronnie Deila. I'm still trying to figure out what that is. They talked about moving through some of the motions in preseason, trying to play different systems. They've reverted back to the 4-3-3 when they've been at their best so far. What we've seen, especially in the second leg versus San Carlos, they've looked quite nice. They just didn't have that luxury, and I think that's going to be a little bit of a hindrance. The good news is you turn it, you get another opportunity before you go into your fixture. The only thing is they got to play Toronto. So that could knock you back a little bit as well.
And that's one of the things we haven't really talked about yet is league games ahead of Champions League matches. Is there a prioritization if you're NYCFC, you're resting a few key players ahead of this Champions League tie?
This early on?
Yeah.
This early on, I'm resting players. It's second game of the season, first Eastern Conference game, you're going against Toronto. I'm resting players. I'm giving myself the opportunity to progress, especially because I'm taking on Tigres and Gignac, and we just talked about how good they can be. For a team that's looking for an identity, I personally would rather rest on the weekend and have an opportunity to push through the international competition. I wouldn't blame Deila if he did the latter. That's just a personal decision. If it's like Herrera and Azteca, like what does he want to do and shows the emotion. For me, I'm trying to build, so I'm not going to make a lot of changes, but I'm going to try and rest someone. I think the other thing to think about is what does this stack look like going forward if they lose against Toronto? If you lose against Toronto, now you've dropped 2 games in a row, won your 10 men that have chased a lot. And that's the other thing, too. You almost have to rotate pieces because you had 10 guys that we saw substitutions that chased for basically 90 minutes. So you don't have the luxury of playing all 11, bringing pieces in and out. So he'll probably rotate a little bit. I wouldn't do it a lot, though.
And they're playing a Toronto side that are well familiar with rotating players ahead of Scotiabank Concacaf Champions League matches. We move now to Atlanta United. We talk plenty about them because Joseph Martinez is out for the rest of the season with a torn ACL. They still get a 2-1 victory away at Nashville SC in their first match in Major League Soccer. You have Ezekiel Barco and Emerson Hyman, both with spectacular goals. I think you're starting to see in that match the by-committee approach that they'll need.
In the game before, PT had 2. You get Barco, you get Hyman, you get all these guys start going forward. They needed that no matter what, whether Martinez goes down. So that's the positive talking point. Of course, Martinez goes out. You get J.J. Williams. They're still waiting on Matias Rossetto. They're waiting on Manuel Castro. By no means are they going to be the scorers up top, but they will get to add to this arsenal a little bit. For me, I look at the fixtures and the way that this is starting to play out. You go home Cincinnati, travel to Azteca against Club America, but then you come home again at Sporting Kansas City that we're not exactly sure what that's going to be. Last year was rough. They started with a little momentum, and then you're home again against Club America. So you have the ability to bring everybody in. 50, 60,000 people, throw them at you and get the home crowd going. Watch the next week. The next week's going to be really interesting as to what this is going to do and what the front office wants to do and go and sign someone.
Yeah, for me, if we're looking at the way that Atlanta are going to set up against Cincinnati tomorrow, aside that leaks goals in Cincinnati, but tomorrow I think is the experimental day. If you're looking ahead towards Champions League, you have to kind of play the same 11 that you're going to play for the Champions League match so that you can see what it looks like with Adam John or whatever tactic you're going to go for. And try it out in a league game and see how it goes.
You're in the friendly confines, Mercedes-Benz, so you have that ability. We know the character is there for those guys. I think the other thing to think about here is, do they have a realistic chance now? Because I'm betting against them now.
Yeah, I mean, there are some that don't even think they can make the MLS playoffs, never mind compete in Champions League. I know, but I mean, Joseph Martinez is MVP. What did he score? 27 goals last year in the league?
By the way, did we even talk about Joe Willis, the goalkeeper from Nashville in that game?
Oh, my God.
When it went on at halftime? I mean, we just a whole new set of rules that he can just do whatever he wants.
Right, so late counterattack. Nashville sees Joe Willis is a million miles off his line. and just swats the ball down on halfway, and he gets a yellow card.
Yeah. No,
Absolute
nothing.
madness.
No last man, no
Complete
nothing.
madness.
Figure that one out.
All right, so that's Atlanta United. Also, LAFC, still in the competition of Major League Soccer, had the biggest win of the round of 16 with a 3-2 aggregate win over Club Leon. They began their league campaign on Sunday afternoon with a 1-0 win over expansion club Inter Miami. The one thing that was interesting to me is they fielded a top side. You had no Atuesta, you put Ginella in instead. No Palacios, you put Jordan Harvey in instead. But Vela, Rossi, Rodriguez lead the line. You have Blessing and Kay, you have Vermeer in goal. They went for it in that game. Now I'll be curious to see how they approach this game Sunday night against Philadelphia Union.
Thought they could have been better in the final third. They were susceptible to the counters. We saw that a couple times. I'm still concerned about the outside backs. You talked about Jordan Harvey a little bit, Tristan Blackman on the right back position. I don't fault them because that's who they are, right? So you start to play to your strong suits, but also recognize your weaknesses. And that's what LAFC is so good at. As the season went on, they recognized, okay, maybe this isn't our strong point. So how do we cover that? That got bitten, or they got bitten by that in the first fixture against Leon. That wasn't the case in the past 2 games that we've seen them play. I'm not worried about them by any means. Even with Miami that was on the road, they're going to keep getting better. That steam, the engine's starting to go.
Yeah, and they play Cruz Azul in the first leg.
Yep.
Now, generally, the MLS sides have not done well in the second leg away in Mexico. So, in some ways, LAFC have to put in a similar performance to the one they put in against Leon and built up a little bit of a cushion here for you travel to the Azteca.
The energy levels, right?
Yeah.
What we saw against Leon, that's something that's really difficult to replicate. And so the hype. Inter Miami, here's what's going on, blah, blah, blah. You got to bring it up again. Now you've got to go win a fixture and then turn around and host a team in Cruz Azul. And so it's a big ask of them.
Yes.
I still think, coming into the tournament, I said it, we're going to give Chris an opportunity come Monday's show to get his own bracket involved because obviously Tyler Terrence wasn't capable of that. But I still think they are the best MLS hope. The problem is they're probably taking on the best team in Champions League right now.
Right,
Yeah.
and in Cruz Azul, it is a real difficult one given how much in form they are. And now we close in terms of the MLS teams with Montreal Impact. They take on Olympia in the quarterfinal. They won their opening league match against New England Revolution by 2-1. Maximiliano Urruti with an absolutely tremendous chip over the New England goalkeeper to get the win in that one. But Thierry Henry is establishing the foundation of his team when you look at the system, when you look at the way that they're trying to play, and I imagine they get 2 more chances here against Olympia to really solidify that.
Almost conversely compared to NYCFC, where we ask, what are we going to get out of them? You're starting to get a look regularly what you're going to get out of Montreal Impact. And not only do they have a base, they're bridging off of that, right? So it's, okay, we need to go from 1 to 10. They've done the 1, 2, 3, and they're taking baby steps. Every game, someone else is stepping up. You're getting a different look. You're seeing the low block. The wingbacks are starting to get involved. Up top a little bit, I'm still waiting for that push, maybe a bit more explosion. But again, they've also shown us that's not necessarily going to be their game. So I think they're for real. And from what we've seen so far, the confidence is there. They're not lacking any character. And oh, by the way, they came from behind over the weekend.
Yeah, and then you look at another addition for Montreal. They still had some DP slots available. They go for Victor Wanyama, the former Tottenham Hotspur midfielder, who is available to leave on a free, and so they sign a 3-year DP deal to add some steel in midfield. You don't see a lot of MLS teams going for a player like Wanyama with their DP slots, but given his pedigree, it's a really solid addition.
He's 28 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys aren't 35, 36 coming over anymore. This is a massive pickup for them. For me, I liked when he was introduced what his response was. So I'll get to that in a second. We had the opportunity on this show, the second or third show, that we interviewed Evan Busch. Now, of course, they've gone with Clement Diop in the tournament, but what Evan Busch said to us was he talked about a game against DC United last year and how they got knocked down. It was a bit vulgar in his response in his quote, but how they got knocked down, they didn't respond appropriately. He said they were lacking character. They didn't have an identity. Wanyama comes in. At the ceremony where they're putting him out there, doing everything with the press, they kept wanting him to turn around and show the number 2, and he wouldn't do it. He kept pointing to the badge, and he says, this is why I'm here. This is what matters. That's exactly what Thierry Henry is coming to do and create that type of philosophy and culture, and that's something, I don't want to say we haven't seen it from Montreal Impact. We just haven't seen it from them in a while.
Right, and I think Thierry Henry is now an attractive proposition as the manager with such a pedigree. You get a phone call from Thierry Henry, you're going to be interested in coming. I think that's clearly what happened with Victor Wanyama, and with the way that they're pressing and the shape, I think he's a perfect plug-and-play player into the system. We'll see if he features in the Champions League against Olympia. And so Victor Wanyama is the latest signing for the Major League Soccer club Montreal Impact. They play on Tuesday night against Olimpia de Honduras. We mentioned already they'll be on 48 hours rest, so Montreal might be able to take advantage of an Olimpia side. They're a little bit knackered heading into that first leg. When we come back, we'll take a further look at this competition, the matches to come next week, but also the best 11 from the round of 16 second leg. A little bit less controversial than the first one. We'll take a look at the best 11 when we come back on the Scotiabank Concacaf Champions League show.
Football. We could say that for us,
Pour nous, para uns,
para nosotros,
on this side of the world, football is our life, the game of our lives. Football always comes first. We all come from different cultures, but football unites us.
sin pillarse, ¿saben?
nos une.
One region, one voice.
Una voz. One voice.
Une voix.
If we listen closely, we are born ready to shout. And from there, we start to play with intensity until the last minute. Faced with obstacles, we work through them. We will improve day by day, always forward, making football better everywhere, every match. Our passion is so strong that it breaks down borders, even those that are hard to knock down, for all of us to reach our dreams. We are the region where the game comes first, bringing the game closer to our fans, and decisions are always made for the good of the sport. We raise our level every day, making football better everywhere, every match. We will put all our teams in position to win. In our region,
Nuestra región.
Notre région.
Nuestra región.
everyone gets to play, connected and respected. One region,
Una región.
Une région.
Una región.
together. We are the collective best of our individual cultures. We are millions of souls. We are together for the love of our game. United for football. 41 countries for one love. CONCACAF. Love for our game.
Scotiabank Concacaf Champions League show, and it is time now to have a look at the best 11 from the second round of fixtures, the second leg of the round of 16. Chris Whittingham, Devin Kerr, taking you through it all in the Scotiabank Concacaf Champions League. And let's go to run through the team of the week from the second leg. Nahuel Guzman, could there be any other choice in goal? With his goal, Javier Jimenez, Elvin Calcillo, Emmanuel Aguilera, and Alexander Callens making up that back four. Midfield, Pity Martinez, Joao Paulo, and Carlos Pineda of Olimpia. And you have Andre Pierre Gignac, Joseph Martinez, and Carlos Vela leading the line for the team of the week. Devin?
Better.
Your verdict.
Better.
Yes.
It's much better. I don't know who was listening, but well done. I do have two issues.
Do you want to be on the committee? Do you want to be on the committee for the Champions
Oh,
League
no,
team
no,
of the
no,
week?
I'm not getting voted.
What?
No.
No. I mean, do you want to be on the committee that votes for the team of the
No,
week?
that's what I'm saying. I don't want to
Yeah,
vote.
you don't want that power?
I got to do more, and I make the same amount of money. I'm not interested in that. Here's my two issues. Aguilera on the back line.
Okay.
Eddie Segura from LAFC was outstanding.
Yes.
I would probably rather have seen that. My other issue, I'm not disagreeing with Joao Paulo in the middle. His first leg, we saw about 30, 40 minutes from him. Said if he can put in a full shift, wow, watch out. He was fantastic. They did concede. That's not necessarily his fault. I would have probably liked to have rather seen Marc-Anthony Kaye or Guido Pizarro from Tigres in there. But I don't have a problem with Joao Paulo. Everybody else is right. Everybody else is deserving. And, of course, Paton, kid, forget it. Just give him best player of the tournament.
Already,
it's done.
just give
don't
him,
care if
give
he
him
gives
a medal
up
of
5.
some kind. We wanted to institute a red button that we have on set, where anytime we press the red button, we'll play that Paton Guzman highlight. So maybe we'll work on that for Monday. Hey, let's go ahead and
Why
play
not?
it.
Run it back.
Tigres up 3-2 in the second leg. They need a goal to advance. 15 seconds remaining in the minimum of 4. and Nahuel Guzman gets the goal. It's just it's player of the week, team of the week, team of the tournament, whatever you want to call it.
Number one, I've never seen a goalkeeper run so fast or so far.
Or so freely.
There was more sprinting there than he's ever done in his entire professional career.
He was being marked better by his own teammates than he was by anyone wearing white. It's just so beautiful. I saw over the weekend there was a goalkeeper assist, but I have not seen a goalkeeper goal quite that flush for some time. But again, there's your team of the week. You were mentioning Marc-Anthony Kaye as potential selection in midfield. I preferred Latif Blessing's performance in that match for LAFC. I mean, you can go, honestly, there probably should be more LAFC representation given what they accomplished in that second leg.
Yeah, I do have one issue with the committee, whoever votes on this. We're not doing a player of the round?
Ooh.
You know, I mean, we put 11 boys up there, and then
perfect transition.
Yeah, there we go.
We have our player index scorers. Now, this is a statistical formula. The computers and the algorithms get together to produce the best players of the round, and they're going for Carlos Vela and Pity Martinez, who I presume this is a 1 out of 10 scale, get a 9.5. Carlos Vela missed some opportunities, but still was just so thoroughly dominant on that right-hand side. Being given the move away from that false 9 position onto the wing, it benefited him perfectly. Pity Martinez with a brace in that second leg as well. So they're your joint players of the round.
That's poetry in motion, right? Those three up top for LAFC.
Yeah,
it's fun to watch them work. I do have a question, though. This is power rankings, and it's based upon 90-minute performances. So obviously, guys coming off the bench probably aren't going to be involved. Everything Guzman did.
Yeah,
still led to up in the back of the net on set piece goals.
They conceded twice.
Yeah,
they conceded. I mean, the Guzman thing is more narrative and heroism than it is necessarily about the stats. The stats don't care about there being 15 seconds left in a goalkeeper goal.
No.
But Brad Guzan is in there.
He deserves it for sure. I thought it was interesting that guys like Herrera and Valencia didn't make Team of the Week, but then 4 players on Team of the Week didn't make the power rankings. So it's basically scoring goals. Yes. And assists. That's what this is about, right?
And also for winning teams as well, and like being the impact player, like Andre Pierre Gignac scores in that second leg, but that the highlight, the narrative is dictated by Nahuel Guzman's goal.
So that brings up the Aguilera argument that I brought up earlier.
Yes.
Let's kick him out of there. The Casilda from Olympia, outside back, we don't give him enough love. We talked about Jimenez, Cruz Azul, not there. And then how about João Paulo? He's not in there either.
Yeah.
It gives you an idea of what exactly is going into these quote-unquote rankings.
Right, and I think the narrative as well for João Paulo was so strong from that first leg. It's like, all right, let's see what this Brazilian DP who just seems to orchestrate everything.
Who was also playing next to a 16-year-old in Daniel Leva.
Right.
So Daniel Leva did quite well. So you're still covering for someone.
Yeah.
No matter how talented he is, he had to shield a little bit.
But still, if you're from a Seattle point of view, you're 2-0 up in that second leg. They should have gone through. I honestly think from a team standpoint, you can make the argument that João Paulo shouldn't be in there because of how disappointing it was that Seattle didn't get through.
Yeah. I wish Tyler was here right now because I just want to bag on his bracket so bad because it was so bad. Yeah. A lot of people coming in were so high on Seattle. And I've been saying from the day one, by no means am I saying, oh, I got this right. It's just, I think people, much like what you saw out of Leon or what you saw out of Tigres, now Tigres came back. I think people were quick to jump on that bandwagon.
Yes.
I wasn't one. You know, I just kind of kept looking at
I think people were looking at their route. People were looking at their route to a Champions League semifinal, going through a weaker opposition in the first round. They would have been the one that would have played Montreal Impact, who people view as the weakest MLS team. So it was more their path to the semifinal. They were the most likely to get far. LFC had to beat Leon, and that's a tall task. They did the task, but now they have to play Cruz Azul. Like, their path is just so tough to get to a final. I think people are looking at Seattle and going, well, it's their path that looks so simple. And you look at the bracket, that bottom right bracket is the easiest one.
They're looking at the bracket. They're not worried about guys like Pineda or Benguche and other ones that can step up. That's why they got in trouble.
No doubt.
That's why they lose.
No doubt. And this is the bracket heading into the quarterfinal in terms of the fixtures. Again, Tuesday, Montreal Impact and Olympia. That game kicks off from 8 p.m. Then on Wednesday, double of NYCFC Tigres and Club America at Atlanta United. First game kicks off at 8. Second game at 10:30 Eastern Time. And then on Thursday, LAFC and Cruz Azul. We end probably with the best game of the round. Again, all those games available on the networks of Fox Sports and TUDN. The first match, I believe, on Tuesday will be on FS1, and then Wednesday and Thursday games will be on FS2. All the games will be on TUDN, available in Spanish. That'll just about do it for us here on the Scotiabank Concacaf Champions League show. On Monday, we'll be back to preview each and every one of these quarterfinals in even finer detail than we brought you today. We'll also look back on the league form of some of these sides that is coming up on Monday on the Scotiabank Concacaf Champions League show.